Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
Sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, so stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name is Jen. I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, is Brian. Hey, Brian.
Howdy.
And Henno is not with us right now, but may be joining us in a little bit. He had a few things he had to take care of before jumping on. So hopefully we get a chance to talk with him in a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, so Brian, how's your week been? How's things going? What's up?
This has been... a really interesting week for me, because my depression hasn't really died back down. Like, it's still there pretty strong the way it's been. But I've had more energy and a little more want to push through it. And I think it's because, like, I started the higher dosage now of the Wellbutrin. So, and I think it's making a significant difference in my energy level. At least for a while. Like, I'm noticing that, I have a little more, energy and stuff. So that's, I think that has something to do with it, which is, cool because, like, yesterday, I finally got moving. I started doing, like, body weight exercises. Because, I can't afford to go to a gym right now, so I got, use what I got. And, it was a good reminder of how out of shape I am.
Right, sure.
Like today was day 2, and I'm, my arms and my thighs are killing me because I was doing squats. And, good news on that is that, the knee I had the meniscus tear in has given me no problems doing squats.
Good.
So that's a significant. That's why I did the first one real careful, like next to my bed. That way, if it hurt, I could immediately, lean on the bed or something. But I didn't. And yesterday I only did 10 because I just wanted to test it a little bit and see how it was. So today I pushed it, further. And, I'm not going crazy. And it's basically, I'm just doing, little amounts of stuff. It's not a lot, but it's the beginning. It's like I got to get myself kind of accustomed to moving first, and then I can, I figure I'll just slowly add stuff as I go here, and, No,
that's a great idea.
Yeah. But, like I said, a couple things are just burning, but it's not hurting, it's just that, hey, you're actually using these things.
Yeah. They're like, oh, what's this?
Yeah.
You're asking me to do what?
Yeah. So, So that's good, obviously. And I've been trying to, still trying to eat better, which is, it's about 50-50. And, part of it's, out of my control, essentially. But, when I can, I'm trying to make better choices, that type of thing. So.
Sure. It's always an ongoing battle. It's interesting because when you talk to people about healthy eating, and when you're having food issues and stuff, it always comes up the same thing. You still got to eat.
Right. Well, my issue comes down to that I don't feel like cooking a lot of the time because, just energy levels and stuff. So if I felt like cooking more, it would be easier for me, because, I when I feel like cooking, I have no problem cooking. I'm all for it. Was it last week? I think it was, I made, stuffed peppers with basically taco fixins instead of whatever. Just like black beans and corn and onions and I used, ground turkey instead of ground beef and, and those were really good, and, instead of using rice, I used cauliflower rice in them, to cut the carbs down and stuff. And they were really good. They turned out, pretty well. But I went and did that and then I didn't cook for like 3 days,
Yep.
And it's, in the meantime, it ends up being, we're having hot dogs or, and it's like, like, dang it. So, whatever. I'm just just controlling what I can, when I feel like it, I'll cook basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
all you can do.
Yeah.
Just one step at a time.
Yep. Exactly. So, and it's funny because, I've talked on here before about basically how just awful my experiences with online dating apps have been, where I've really gotten nothing out of them, except honestly a move backwards, confidence wise, and, so this week I had the first match ever on Bumble.
Nice.
And then I had two women, message me on, Plenty of Fish, right? And so I talked to, the one on Bumble, the woman has to start the conversation. She never did. So, whatever, the ones on Plenty of Fish, I talked with each of them for about 2 days and then nothing more from them. And now it's been about 4 or 5 days.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and what's funny about it is I was telling Tony when we were doing Salty Language the other night, I was like, old hard pass coming back, cause we've joked that that's like my nickname because of it, a beer fest we were at, Tony scared a woman and was like, said something. He's like, say hi to my friends too. And she was just like, looked at me and was just like, So, and I know it wasn't me. It was more Tony's aggression. Yeah.
Tony's aggressiveness.
Yeah. But it was still really funny. We all, me and Dev from Snake Oil Comics were, just talking about the, going hard pass and it was just funny. So, when I was telling Tony this, I was like, yeah, hard pass again, cause it's so weird that I was talking to him and then all of a sudden just nothing. And it wasn't like a bot situation. They're both actual people or really good bots, one or the other. Or catfish, I guess. I don't know. But, it was just funny that all of a sudden nothing.
Just boof. Well, I had so many of those when I was dating.
Yeah.
It was, you talk to someone for a while and all of a sudden they either disappear or my favorite is the ones that they're all excited to meet you. So you set up a time and date to meet, a couple days later or whatever. And in the meantime, all of a sudden, I don't know what happens and they fall off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
And you're like, so are we still on? Are we not on? What's going on? Or they talk to you all the way up until the time you're supposed to meet and then don't show.
Right. Yeah. Ghosting. Yeah.
It's like, what possible purpose
Yeah.
Could you get out of this?
Well, I mean, I could see where somebody would chicken out at the end or have an anxiety issue, maybe, you know, like,
Maybe.
but even
Yeah.
then it's like, why wouldn't you just be honest with the person? I
Yeah.
know you're not thinking rationally if you're having like an anxiety situation, but it's like, realistically, if you get to that point, you know, send the person a message and just, hey, I'm really sorry. My anxiety's acting up. I can't, you know, whatever. Odds are they'll either be understanding or they won't. And if they're not, then clearly they're not going to be a good fit for you. Because
Yeah.
if you have anxiety, it's not going to just be a one-time event generally, you know? So.
Yeah, exactly.
But.
Exactly.
It's just funny. And I keep pointing it out that it's funny to me and it's difficult to not really take this as an ego hit because, you know, again, dating apps are realistically, they're based on appearance. You know, if people read your, I mean, everything is, but you know, if they read your profile, you know,
yeah.
You know, it's like, and then to just stop, it's like, all right. Like, because at first I'm like, what the hell? I'm going back and looking at the messages like, did I say something offensive or, you know, it's like the only thing I can think of is maybe I was too boring. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't, whatever, but you know. So I was like, all right, well, whatever. But like I said, I keep laughing at it. But on the other hand, it's just like, come on. Like, what the, you know, I can't help but go, what the hell is wrong with me that I can't get, you know, like, so.
Yeah. And it's nothing is wrong with you.
I know.
It's either the profile or there's a really great show called Love at First Swipe.
Oh yeah, you've talked about this.
Yes,
yeah.
I've talked about the show before. That it was very short lived. It was on TLC, but they actually took people who were on the dating profiles and they revamped the person and the dating profile to give them a more friendly and a more realistic profile than the profile they had created that they thought was really them. But really was not showcasing themselves at all.
Yeah.
So that's where I think a lot of it comes in, is people don't showcase themselves in the best way.
Right. And that's why I said, it's like, you know, I understand it. It's just, you know, like I said, it's just difficult to not take it as an ego hit, you know, because realistically you're being rejected, you know, and anytime you're being rejected, it's, you know, it's not easy, but whatever. Trying to think, there was something else can't remember what else there was. Well, I was telling you before we recorded that I hooked up a drawing tablet and, you know, dealt with quite a bit of frustration with that because I can't seem to get the hang of it. And, you know, but I didn't give up on it. You know, I didn't get mad. I didn't give up. it was just frustrating because I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And it seems like I should be able to, but I don't know if it's something with the way my head is wired or if this is normal. But it's just so weird to me that, I'm going to keep trying, but I just don't, at this point, it just doesn't feel like, it doesn't even feel like I've made progress in the multiple attempts I've made. You know, at least if I felt like I was making baby steps, like, okay, well, you know, keep going. But as of yet, I feel like I have no idea. You know, it's like, you know, the first time you gave, you know, like a parent a cell phone or something, and you're like, here you go, do all the stuff. And they're like, So, yeah. But, you know, that's what I said. Overall, it's been, you know, pretty quiet and boring week, but it's, you know, been alright for the most part.
Good. Yeah, it sounds like it's been a fairly positive week. I mean, you've had some ups and downs, but
yeah, but that's fine. That's what life is. It's supposed to be ups and downs, you know. So
100% agree.
Yeah,
yes.
So I don't mind that. I can live with that. It's just, you know, because there was nothing extreme. You know, those are the things that are the hardest to process and deal with. But you know, like I said, my depression's been about the same. Like, it hasn't really let up, but, you know, at least I've been able to do things also. So that's a good step.
Absolutely.
Hopefully it's not just like an early boost of energy from the medicine that will, wean.
I hope not. Hopefully this sticks around for you.
Yeah, me too. I really hope it does. So how about you? How was your week?
I found out something interesting. I gave the talk to a couple different people about the hats that we wear and how we define ourselves, and sometimes we define ourselves by one hat specifically and get stuck there.
Yeah.
Versus understanding that we have a million hats that we wear. And I had to break it down for a few people, and even myself, I found, because the hat we all are getting stuck on is the work hat. That we feel ourselves and are defining ourselves by our work and our time at work. And that is the only thing we're defining ourselves by. And it's becoming consuming with the amount of hours, everyone has heard me talk about before now, the hours that I'm working right now, I'm averaging about 60-hour weeks. So it's fair, it's very understandable that you can get stuck in that hat. And, it's like, everything is about work to me. Everything has to do with work. Work is my life. Work is, becomes my sole focus. And so it's been an interesting week because I really had to take a step back and stop and say, no, I am Jen first. Then I'm Jen first. Then I'm a wife. Then I'm a daughter. Then I'm a friend. Then somewhere towards the back end of things, I'm a worker.
Yeah.
And to really, it's really revolves around priorities and understanding where my priorities are. Work is a strong priority for me. I'm a very strong worker, and I take a lot of pride in what I do and how I work. So I want to always keep that is in the list of things that I'm proud of,
Yeah.
I am a strong worker, and it is a passion of mine, my work that I do. But it does not define me.
Right.
And that's, so it was interesting that I kind of gave that talk to a couple different people, and I had to give that talk to myself.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's, how many times have we talked about that on this, about the, treat yourself the way you treat others concept. And it's hard to do, but it's great advice.
Yeah. And it's just, I turned it on myself a bit, and I'm like, no. Because, in one particular case, we have a lot of volume of work that needs to be accomplished, and we've got a lot of pressure to get it done very quickly. And I contemplated working, I had clocked in at 63 and a half hours for the week.
Wow.
And I was contemplating staying over and doing another couple more hours.
Yeah.
And I stopped myself with my hands were hurting, my head was hurting, my eyes were hurting.
Right.
After this long week of work.
Another thing we've talked about on the show, listen to your body.
Yeah. Everything's screaming at me.
Yeah.
I need to go home.
Yeah.
And I have my husband waiting for me at home.
Right.
Which I hadn't seen in a couple days because of the work schedule. It really became apparent. I had to stop myself and say, no. I have control here. I control how much I'm willing to give and how much I'm not willing to give. And I'm not willing to give that.
Right.
That's affecting my personal life. That's affecting me as a human being, as Jen. And when it affects Jen as a person and as in my happiness and my well-being, I have to defend that.
Yeah. Good point.
And I have to fight for that. So, and that's what I said, and no one else, keep in mind, no one else asked me to work extra.
Right.
They just said the work needs to get done.
Right.
They did not say by me.
Right.
They
but
did
the
not
way
say what time it had to be done in.
Right.
Yeah.
The way you process it though is,
Yep.
I need to do this. Yeah.
Don my cape.
Yeah.
I'm Super Jen.
Yeah, I'll do it. It'll be fine. Yeah.
You know, and that's the other thing that the other aha is Super Jen. I am not a superhero. I am not the defender of all.
Right.
I am not the, mouthpiece for the world. I can only speak for myself. I can only do what I want to do. When it comes to the point where I'm giving when people are not even asking for,
Yep.
I'm still giving, I need to take a step back. I am not a superhero. I don't need to be doing this. And this has not been, they're not asking for me to work over.
Yeah.
They're asking me to get work done.
Right.
And I'm choosing to work over to get that work done. They would be just as happy if I found another way of getting it done by, efficiency, fixing efficiency issues or updating processes or, helping somebody else learn so they can get it done.
Right.
They don't care how it gets done. So it's really interesting when you kind of break it down and you start thinking about it as a big picture, as a whole, and get your perspective back on it. And that's where you have to kind of understand you're not a superhero, you're not a martyr. Don't act like either one of those because it's not beneficial to you.
Right.
So
yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Lots of life lessons, through this week, and kind of a lot of things, a lot of awareness. I'm really glad I'm getting this opportunity it's allowing me to look at myself differently and work on different aspects of me that I don't think I would have had the opportunity or have the knowledge about if I wasn't working so hard and doing so much.
Yeah. Well, it's good too that, even with you working the amount of hours and stuff that you're able to, see what's going on and, realize that you need to make a change there. Like you're not waiting until you're completely burnt out and just giving up or, completely, demoralized by something. You're catching it in the moment, essentially, especially even with that, working that many hours and all that. I'm sure, there's obviously going to be mental fatigue from it. So,
yes.
that's a good step though, that you're able to catch it.
Absolutely. And I'm trying, and I knew that it's hard. It's been hard on me. It's been hard on my house, my family, my husband for sure, because I'm not able to do what I have been able to do around here. And I'm just not.
Right.
And it's tough because there's not really anyone else to do those things that I've done. I've always done them. It's always been my job to do them.
Yeah.
My chores, and I can't get my chores done. And it stinks, and it sucks, and it weighs on you.
Yep.
And it's understanding and finding the balance between things and working to be the best you can and understand when you can't meet your own expectations. It's okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all very true and good. Yeah,
yeah.
So
that's kind of been my week.
So are you at a point of action with that yet, or is it just still the processing part of it?
I'm still kind of processing. I'm trying to take, as far as action on getting my life together, or...
Well, you said you worked how many hours? 63?
Oh, yeah. It was 63 and a half this week.
Right. So it's like, are you going to try to work less hours or?
Gotcha. Right now we've got a newer person and a brand new person. So 2 people brand new within the last month, shall we say. So they're both coming up the learning curve. So hopefully we can get them taking on more responsibility.
Yeah.
And as they're taking on more responsibility, it will require me to be there less.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because right now they need a strong person along with them because, that's not fair to kind of throw somebody to the wolves.
Right.
So, they require having someone stronger with them right now. And hopefully when they can get to that point, when they're strong enough on their own. So, and I also don't have to do, right now I'm doing 6 days a week. Mm-hmm. And hopefully in the next few weeks, I can go down to 5 days.
Yeah, okay.
So there is some hope in sight. It's coming slowly.
Right.
I know it's coming. It's just, and they have also actually just announced on Friday that they're looking to give us a 3rd new person.
Oh, okay.
So,
that'll
which
help.
should really get us back to where we should be. Because with the volumes the way they're at, I think 5 people doing this job would suffice.
Right.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, it can't hurt.
Yes.
Even if it cut you from 63 to 55, that's 8 hours, more, like you said, that could cut you from 6 days to 5 days, essentially, and.
Yes.
And that may just be enough, it's like just getting that many hours back is, nice.
Yes. And the one person that I'm working with, one of the new people that came on board, I'm hoping that they can start taking every other Saturday at least with me.
Yeah.
Starting beginning of September, like in 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks, I'm hoping. And knock on wood, I'm really hoping that they don't have a lot of work on Saturday the 2nd, September 2nd, so I could have a 3-day weekend.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That would be lovely if I could have Labor Day off and the Saturday before Labor Day off, so I can have a 3-day weekend and I can go up north and have a mini vacation.
Yeah.
Which would be awesome.
Right.
Because when I go up north, it's just northern Michigan. One of my cousins is up there now, and we go tubing down the Osable River.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, so I did that last time with her, and she just contacted me before we started today and was asking, like, hey, you guys coming up for Labor Day? We could go tubing.
Yeah.
Like,
like, I want to.
3 hours. Yeah, it's like 3 hours floating down the river on a tube drinking a beer. Seems pretty awesome right now.
Right.
Seems like a pretty awesome idea. So, we'll see how that works out. But So there's hope in sight.
Well, that's good.
And I've also actually thought about bringing in somebody into the house, having a housekeeping service come in.
Yeah.
And get things tidied up for me.
Right. At least to give you that.
Platform. Just
I was going to say, get it back to even, and then you can start again. Yeah. I've thought about the same thing here, actually, because, just, it'd be nice to have somebody come in and just, do a head to toe kind of scrubbing and, then maintain from there, it's
right.
So much easier. So lazy.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. I've had to do that before at my last place that I lived.
Yeah.
That was really beneficial.
Mm.
And you can tell a difference.
Oh,
it's
sure,
just,
yeah.
when it's professionally cleaned, even if you do the best job you can possibly do, when it's professionally cleaned, it's just something about it.
Right. I think you just enjoy it more because you didn't have to do it.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that comes to fruition. Yeah. But and I did book my trip. So those of you who follow me on Facebook, I have my mom lives in Florida, and I do have a trip booked now that I'm going to be going down to Florida for extended weekend, shall we say. It's about 4 days, 4 or 5 days that I'll be going down there. So that will also be nice. She asked me what I wanted to do, and if I had anything special I wanted to take care of when I was down there.
Yeah.
I was very honest and said, relax.
Yeah.
That's all I really want on my agenda.
Yeah. That's fair.
Have everybody drive me around. We'll go out to eat.
Yeah.
Maybe go to a few breweries and just be. Wherever you want to take me. I don't care. I'm just here.
Right. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's, yeah, there's no, when you go on vacation, you don't have to go do a whole lot, sometimes really, like you were saying, it's like all you just need is a change of scenery for a few days, and not to be stressing about normal stressors,
Exactly.
To know they'll be there when you get back, but it's, for the next X time,
Hey, when you're not home, you can't do laundry.
Yeah.
You can't vacuum. You can't do dishes. You can't, it's one of those things that all the little stuff that instead of relaxing that you have a tendency to do when you're stressed out and stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have those when you're on vacation or away from house. So you have to literally sit there and just chill.
Yep.
Very good place to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
So. Well, we were talking before the show. There's some questions that have been popping up. Different people have asked different questions. So I figured it might be a good time to have kind of a question and answer show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
so.
Yep.
Kind of go from there. You said Tony had a good question for us.
Yeah, he asked me when we were recording Salty Language a couple nights ago if I felt that that having a mental illness is trendy. And I think what he was kind of getting at was that, do people kind of just say that they have these things for, to fit in essentially, or to not really fit in, but for the sake of they can use it for whatever that, an excuse or whatever they want kind of a deal too. And, it's like, as much as I'd like to say no, I feel like some people do, and like you and I talked, it's like, in the way I mean that is that a lot of people, we've talked on one of our past episodes about using the right terminology. Like if you drink a lot, but, that doesn't really make you an alcoholic. It can, don't get me wrong. But, usually
it's not they're mutually exclusive.
Right.
I mean, they're not connected. They're connected, but they're not exactly the same thing.
Yeah. It's like, can you just stop? And if so, then you're probably, anyway, but whatever. It's like, I don't want to diminish anything anyone has,
Absolutely.
And there's plenty of people that are undiagnosed that may have something, but what bothered us when we talked about it on the show was when people, like me, it bothers me when people say that they're depressed when they just mean they're sad or they're having a bad day or a couple of days type of thing. There's a difference in the two. Or like if you say you're an insomniac, but it's only because once in a while you can't go to sleep. And it's like, no, it's probably not insomnia as much. Insomnia is more of like a chronic condition, like every night you have issues or multiple times, like there's more to it than just the base stuff. Again, depression, if you actually look at depressed people, they don't normally feel sad. They usually feel indifferent. And there's a huge difference in the two. Because sad is still feeling something, indifferent, you just nothing. You're just empty. And, it's not very often that I actually feel sad, So, it just means a lot, and it kind of diminishes people with mental illness to use these terms incorrectly, as we talked about, or like with you, you're bipolar. How many times have you heard someone say they're bipolar just because they have a mood swing? And that's really not how bipolar generally works. It can, but it's not all there is to it. It's like OCD, being picky or particular about order doesn't immediately make you OCD, because it can manifest itself in so many different ways. It can be a horrible, horrible condition.
And it can make it sound very pretentious or, I had the word, but I just lost it.
Like, I'm not trying to be condescending at all.
Semantics. Yeah. It's like condescending, playing semantics.
Yeah.
Or, all of that stuff. We're not trying to come across that way. But on the flip side, it can be very dangerous to claim a mental disorder that isn't truly diagnosed there.
Right.
So that's why when someone asks you, and I try to be very cautious about how I say it or the tone I use and the verbiage I use when I ask someone, because they'll say something and I'm like, oh, are you diagnosed? And I'm trying not to be, like, oh, are you diagnosed? Because it can come across that way. People can hear it that way. Yeah. They're like, oh, you're not from Beverly Hills type of thing. Yeah. It's like, no, that's not what I'm asking. The reason I'm asking is not to differentiate us. It's to find that common ground between us. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, have you gone through these steps? Here's the things that I've done. Have you done these things? Yeah. I'm not trying to downplay you like, oh, well, I'm diagnosed.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're not. It's none of that stupid pretentious stuff.
Right. But it's like we've also talked, it's like, when I mentioned at the end of just about every show about, don't self-diagnose, because you could diagnose yourself incorrectly, Yeah. Again.
And you could be treating yourself incorrectly.
Right. And I mean, and I can, for a fact, there's a lot of people who are bipolar that are initially just ruled as like depressed. And then as things manifest differently, then sometimes it's like, oh, hey, actually you're bipolar. It's, I've heard a few stories on podcasts about people that were that way, or they were diagnosed, they'd have, one thing and be diagnosed with like ADHD or something, but it was actually something else that ADHD is part of, that kind of a thing. Like depression can cause you to be, ADHD essentially, they can work together. So, you may have one that kind of leads to the other. But that's the thing. That's why we always, I always tell everybody to, go get the estimate. If you think there's something wrong or if it's affecting your life negatively, go find out. And try to get the, the proper, diagnosis or whatever. And, the other side of it is like the reason it bothers us probably is that mental illness is something that for the longest time was not cool to talk about. People weren't, people would shut you down if you start talking about it because nobody wanted to hear it. People didn't believe it, whatever it is. And when people kind of minimize these terms by making them like slang essentially, then people start thinking everybody who says this is essentially faking it. And, so it's not good for the people who actually are suffering from these things. So that's why it's like, be a little more considerate with, how you're, referencing yourself, because it is, I don't know how many times on Instagram I've seen somebody like, I'm OCD or whatever. And it's like, you might be, but what you're really just showing me is you're just particular about order. There's you can be particular about things being tidy and not be OCD. There's a it's like, people will call it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Okay. Well, people also, you don't understand how offensive that can be. Yeah. Because people have said to me, oh, so-and-so is just so bipolar. Yeah. And I've looked at people before and I'm like, you do realize that I am actually bipolar, right? Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like, do you not understand what you just said? Yeah. How offensive that is to me because you're using it as a derogatory term towards somebody else who, for all intents and purposes, we do not know that they are diagnosed as bipolar. You're just saying that they're really moody. Yeah. Is what you're truly saying, that they just have bad mood swings and they're really moody. Mm-hmm. And then turning around and using a term that actually applies to me It's, it's very offensive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it just, and that boggled my mind because they had no clue.
Well,
and
the other thing,
I didn't feel comfortable saying, hey,
Yeah.
that offended me because I'm not that person, but
yeah.
dude.
But
really?
it's hard to not feel minimized in that too, because you kind of are like, well, are they saying the same thing about me when I'm not around? Like there's that element of it too. So it's just, like I said, it's just, I know it's weird because talking like this, like you said, it does kind of have this air of elitism to it, but it isn't. It's not that. It's what it comes from is we really want people that if you think you have an issue, go find out so you can get help. We don't leave things untreated, especially if you think you're OCD or bipolar. Don't get me wrong, anything, depression, any of it. But, ones like bipolar just tend to get worse and worse and worse. And OCD can get really, really bad, along the way as well. So, and again, I know, depression can too. I'm not minimizing anything else. But, if you think you have those, go get help. Like, go find out. Because if so, there's medicine, there's other treatments out there that may completely change your life,
And hang on, hang on tight because it's a journey.
Yeah.
It is not a destination. It's a journey. When you're dealing with mental illness and going through health, trying to be healthy, and it's a long, hard journey. So just, as we've talked about before, I know we're kind of beating a dead horse here, but make sure you use your words appropriately and understand who you're talking to.
And not just about mental illness, like any sort of a condition or whatever, try,
really, yes.
Yeah, try to use the appropriate terms.
But you're sugar sensitive doesn't make you diabetic.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like just because, sugar, you're just sensitive to sugar, it makes you a little hyper or it makes you go a little crash a little bit if you don't have it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're diabetic. So don't go around saying you're diabetic.
Yeah.
Just because, it's all of that stuff. Let's just be more cognizant of each other and stuff. And it's tough not to sound pretentious for sure.
Yeah.
Or elitist and all the other junk, which it's not about that at all.
Right.
And the other thing I get that really sticks kind of along this line, sticks in my craw is, I'll tell someone I'm bipolar, because we'll be talking about something and in a conversation it would come up. I wouldn't say normal conversation, but in conversation it would come up, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm bipolar as well, or I'm bipolar. And people look like, oh, but you're fine. You don't act bipolar.
Right.
You're and they dismiss it.
Right.
And it's like, gee, and I've had to correct people a few times and say, no, it's only because I'm on medicine and it's like, no, folks, I've done the work here. Come on.
Right. And if you did want to be elitist about it, you could be like, well, define bipolar to me, because most of the time it's probably not going to be the actual definition of it, because they're probably just going to be like, oh, well, mood swings. It's like, nope, you swung and you missed. Like, again, that can be part of it, but typically the first thing that shows in, like, bipolar is mania, and, that kind of thing. So.
And it's so, it's how we talk about things, and it's a learning curve. Right now we're on that learning curve that everyone's kind of learning about how to deal with it. And, it's, no one will go up to someone with cancer and say, what type of cancer do you have?
Yeah.
Oh, you only have melanoma? Oh, that's an easy cancer.
Yeah. Well, actually, doctors do that.
Right. But in the scheme of things, it's still cancer, folks.
Yeah, I know.
When
my mom was diagnosed with... when my mom was diagnosed with skin cancer on her nose, that's exactly what the doctor told her, though, was, well, this is the right kind of cancer to get. And he's right, it is, because it's mostly on the surface. It's not down in your, cells, organs, and stuff.
Things, I guess in perspective.
Yeah,
but
the success rate of them just, via surgery, just cutting it out is really good. So that's why they say that. And it's, the fatality rate from it is super low. So that as a result, it really is. If you're gonna have a cancer, it's one that, if you had to pick one, it probably is. But it's funny because, you know, it's still cancer. Like, no matter what, it's still cancer. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah. You know, so, well, regardless, we're kind of beating a dead horse there, but yeah, going back to the initial question, whether it's trendy, I think it is to a certain aspect, because it's new words that they're trendy words that people are throwing around right now.
Yeah.
Because they're very hot topic words. And just, it's going to happen that way. It's going to come up in conversation and stuff. And it's part of our lexicon that we're learning and we're expanding upon.
Yeah.
So in the scheme of things, yeah, it's becoming trendy, but it's not becoming trendy, I think, because it's popular and it's the cool thing to have. I think it's becoming trendy because people are being more aware.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely popping up more. I mean, you know, if you look at, you know, the rates of depression in kids coming out of high school and college and stuff now, it is at a higher rate. So, you know, like you said, and again, people are more aware of mental illness now. So there is going to be more use of the terminology and the words and all that stuff. So it makes perfect sense. It's just, you know, like I said, I don't really think anyone, well, I'm sure there's some people probably doing it for attention or what, you know, because there's always, no matter what there is, there's always someone who's exploiting something, you know. But I don't know if, you know, like I said, yes, but no, you know. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, something else someone mentioned to me, kind of a little bit away from the mental health topic, but a question that was brought up was, is it a problem when should I get worried about someone invading into my personal space? Meaning, she has a loved one, I believe boyfriend or husband, I'm not sure exactly which, but a man in her life that wants to, will look at her phone when her phone goes off, and wants to be very actively involved in her personal life, in personal space. Granted, it was an interesting conversation I had with her because, excuse me, his motivation is not wrong. You know, his motivation is what he tells her is that he just wants to be involved in her life and involved in everything that she's doing and stuff. He wants to be there for her.
Yeah.
And, which is good. But there is a line sometimes with your personal space that we need to kind of be aware of. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know what you thought about that.
You know, it's interesting because, you know, like growing up, I would never get into my mom's purse or my dad's wallet, you know, without their permission. Even with their permission, like my mom would be like, "Oh, just get it out," and I'd bring her purse, you know, because it's like, you know, it was just I was taught like that's a private, you know, a very personal thing. And same with a wallet, you know, that's where you keep, you know, money. It's where you keep important, you know, your license and all that stuff. So it was kind of a space that you just don't invade, you know, and I think essentially phones are that now, you know, and there's a difference because, you know, like if the phone rings and you pick it up and just say, "Hey, so-and-so's calling you," I would never have a problem with that, you know, and I am not a person who really is, you know, like, oh, I have to hide things. But it's the idea that there's still an element of respect, that it is kind of a person's private whatever, you know, and obviously there's differences if there's, you know, some sort of a mistrust along the way. You know, I'm not commenting on that kind of stuff. It's more just in general. But, you know, as far as like having to get into their phone or whatever, or check things, you know, it's like, that's, I think, the difference. Like, if you just happen to look at their phone and whatever, that's one thing. But if you're digging through the phone, that's when I kind of feel like there's a personal space invasion there, you know? And even if you feel justified, it still feels like a real invasion of privacy, you know? And just because you're married I personally don't feel that gives you carte blanche on the other person's stuff. You know?
No.
I don't.
And I agree.
Yeah, I don't feel that way. Now, you know, people can be free to disagree with me on that. That's okay. That's the way I look at it. you know?
Yeah.
But like, you know,
I agree.
if somebody I was with was like, can I use your phone? I'd be like, yeah. And I'd either unlock it for them or just tell them the thing, you know. Friends and family are different, but no, it's just
Right. Well, what I told her is I said there's two parts to it. One, you gotta look at them and their motivation and how it makes you feel. Because feelings are facts. They're things. They're items. They're not actionable. They're just are.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I am sad. Boom. But,
Yeah.
you know, I am happy. Duh. That's it. They're just a thunk right there. So how it's making you feel and what their motivation is, their feelings and your feelings are there. What you guys do with those feelings, those action items, that's what you guys need to address.
Yeah.
So why he's acting the way he is, why you're responding the way you're responding.
Exactly.
You need to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
Because the combination thereof is where you're going to find the root cause of this and the actual answer to it. So in this particular case, what I told her, I said, why is he feeling the need to constantly look at your phone?
Yeah.
Is he feeling insecure?
Right. Because, I mean, my guess without knowing would be that she either looks at her phone a lot while he's around her, or, you know, basically she's just on her phone a lot. And he feels slighted by that in one way or another, whether it's I feel like she's cheating. I'm not going that far, but it's probably more just you're paying more attention to the phone.
That, yeah. I want to be part of that.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm in the room with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. You have a whole nother world going on out here that I want to be a part of. So, and that's what I mentioned to her. I said, so is he feeling left out?
Yeah.
Is he feeling insecure? What are you doing to help him feel more secure?
Yeah.
So, you know, you don't have to share your phone with him by any means.
But put it down a little more, you know?
Put it down a little bit more, or invite him to be your friend on Twitter, or invite him to be your friend on Facebook and all your social medias and stuff. If he's not already a friend on all those social medias, that is also something you want to think about.
You know, I will say this. I'm obviously not going to rat anybody out, but I know people on Twitter who basically they have secret accounts from their significant other. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something else to think about. Like, if you have a secret account, why do you feel the need to have that secret account?
Yeah.
Is that really the best and healthiest way to handle? It might be the easiest way.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that. No, it's not easy. That might be the easiest way to handle things.
Right.
But is it really the best way to handle things?
Yeah, and that gets into a whole nother.
Oh yeah, that's a whole body of
yeah. That's why I said for the most part I'm trying to frame it in a not like cheating kind of manner. It's more of a just because it is. You know, how many times do you sit down with somebody for dinner or just wherever, and it's like they're on their phone or both of you are on your phones, even, you know, and at some point, sometimes you realize you're just like, why are we doing this? Like, we're not actually interacting. We're just sitting in the same room on our phones. That's it, you know, and don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with like a couple. Sometimes they'll sit in the same room and like maybe they're both reading, but they're in the same room, you know, and that's, you know, whatever. But the idea is just, it feels more like a deliberate, ignoring when someone gets on their phone, especially if like, you know, they're talking to you and they just pick up the, you know.
Yes. Exactly. And it's very easy to fall into those bad habits. So just be aware of phone etiquette, folks.
Yep.
Just be very aware of phone etiquette. And I think everyone knows a phone jail.
Yeah.
Which, you know, in case you don't know what phone jail is when you're out with a person or a group of people and everyone puts their phones in the middle of the table. And the first person to touch their phone has to either buy the round of drinks for everyone or has a penalty.
Yeah.
So that is phone jail. They actually sell plastic jail cells that you can now put in the middle of your table that everyone's phone goes in.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yes.
You can't just stack your phones on the table or something? I mean...
Oh, no. You have to have a little plastic jail cell that you stick them in and stand them,
Yeah. All right.
So, another thing that came up, another question that I've been asked, probably a couple times over now, is back to being around mental health and stuff like that, is the when do you tell, when don't you tell? And I always thought this was a very interesting question. We've talked about it a few times on the show before, but I honestly feel that it is a very personal decision. I'm very open with my mental disorder.
Yeah.
Obviously, I talk about it on the show.
Sorry, really quick. What was the question again? I want to make sure
The question is, when do you tell, when don't you tell?
Okay, that's what I thought you said. I don't know why, but my head was just flipping it, so sorry.
No worries.
All right.
But yes, when do you tell, when not to tell? I'm obviously very open with the show, in my personal life. I just put it out there for the world. Mm-hmm. This has not been the most popular decision.
Yes.
Quite a few people have very, very strongly dissuaded me from doing this.
And again, I think, did we do an episode on this? I know we talked about it when Clint was on with us, for online dating, but I don't remember if we did another episode on it or not.
We've mentioned a few times. I don't know if we've done a full episode.
Well, we did definitely talk about it when Clint was on, talking about online dating. If anyone wants to go back and look at that episode or listen to that episode.
Yeah, that was a great episode, and we love Clint. He's awesome. But so it was definitely a difficult decision of mine. But once I accepted it and went with it, I went 100% in with it.
And so did I.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's really personal. I would, if someone was asking me for advice as to their personal situation, when to tell, when not to tell, I would say use your judgment, be strong, stand behind your decision.
Yeah.
And don't second guess.
Yep.
Like, don't let yourself go down that road. If you feel in the moment that it's the right moment and the right person or the right people that you're talking with, and you choose to share it, be strong and confident in your decision, because it is the right decision. Anytime, every decision you make, and this is how I choose to live life, every decision I make is the right decision. Because it's the best decision that I could make at the time with the given information I had at the time.
Right.
In hindsight, I can say, you know what?
I chose
poorly. Probably would have been better if I would have made another decision.
Right. But
that was a good decision. At that moment, in that exact situation, that was a good decision. Yeah. So, and it's tough because some of those decisions you stop and you think about, you're like, really? That was really a good decision? Nope. Given the state of mind, given all the circumstances, given everything, they made the best decision I could in that moment. And I stand behind that fact because that also builds me to who I am today.
Yeah.
And without that moment, good, bad, or ugly, I still wouldn't be the same person I am today if I didn't have that in my past.
Yep. And I'm the same way in that once I got a diagnosis, I think it was pretty much from that point forward. I pretty much was like, I'm not going to be quiet about this because this is part of who I am. No different than anything else about a person. And, and as far as other people wanting to hear it, not wanting to hear it, I really don't care. And the reason is they don't get that right to shut me down anymore. I'm not giving anyone that power over me anymore. And again, it's like, look, if I have to listen to people talk about their kids, they can listen to me talk about my depression. And if they don't like it, that's fine, because I really don't want to hear about their kids. So, I mean, there's an extent, but you get what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
And, I'm mostly kidding about that, but it's the idea that it's, it is part of who I am. It's part of my life. It's a significant part of my life, So if you truly care about me, you'll care about this. And that's a good way for me to find out who really cares about me and who doesn't. Because if I start talking about this and they dismiss it and start ignoring me, well, guess what? You're probably not going to be in my life much longer because you're not on the path I want to be on, you know? And
you're not part of my support system, so I don't need you.
And the other reason that I chose to do it is because of just the stigmas of mental illness. Depression by nature wants me to isolate. It wants me to shut down from people, to disengage. And I'm saying, no, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to yell about this. We're going to do this podcast. I'm going to talk to anybody who asks me questions. And I'm going to be honest. And as I've said before on here, there's stuff that, I've either talked with Jen and Henno about off show or just, kept between me and my therapist or just to myself, but it's probably 2% of what I'm dealing with. It's going to be very, very personal stuff, that you need to be part of my inner circle essentially to know. But other than that, it's like, no, if someone asks me, I'm just like, yeah, this is what I'm going through. Because you never know when that person is asking you because they aren't sure if they, need help or whatever it is at the time. So, and that's where I've gotten is I just want to encourage people to get help if they need it. Don't be quiet about it. Don't keep it to yourself anymore. Tell your friends, get help, all this kind of stuff. Go, whatever it is that depression's making you feel, try as hard as you can to basically do the opposite. Within, nothing dangerous, of course. But try to just go the opposite way. And that's about the best you can do, as far as fighting it, is try as hard as you can to not isolate, to not sit by yourself in a dark room, to not lay in bed all the time, all those things. So that's why I did it, and I have zero regrets about it. And like I said, if it bites me in the ass as far as like getting a job or a relationship or something like that, then I wasn't supposed to have those things. That's just the way I'm going to look at it. Like I mentioned to Jen, or to you earlier, it's like with the anxiety thing, if somebody, doesn't like the fact that you had to cancel because of anxiety, it's like, well, this is not a person that's going to be compatible with you, because this is something that's going to happen. It's unfortunate, but it's going to happen. So. Exactly.
And it's tough, but I have made a decision when I decided to come 100% clean and open with my diagnosis, at that moment, I pretty much decided that I was going to be an open book. And I keep things pretty darn straight. I told a new person that came into work and we were talking and stuff, and I'm like, I'll lay it out for you, man. I said, I am pretty much as straight across the board honest as you're going to get. And it's strictly because I didn't say this to him, but it is because of me having this mental illness. I can't keep all of that in my head.
Yeah.
It's like I can't keep any sort of falsehoods or any sort of misrepresentations.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be flat out lies. But any of that type of stuff, it gets in my head, it drives me nuts, it makes me uncomfortable, and it makes me unsure. So instead of living that way where I'm constantly second guessing myself and, maybe I should have said this, maybe I should have said that, no question anymore. I'm just across the board.
Exactly.
You ask me, I tell you straight.
Yep.
I tell you exactly what's on my mind at that moment.
Which really, it's
filtered.
It's the best way to be anyway, because then you don't have to, because anytime you lie to somebody, you got to remember that lie. And then if you tell another one, you got to remember 2 lies and 3 lies. And, it's like, or you could just tell the truth, right, wrong, or indifferent, and it's like, look, I've said for years, I'd much rather somebody just look me in the eye and go, I really don't like you, than pretend to like me and drag me along as though they do like me, and I put effort into something only to find out that they never liked me. It's like, well, then why'd you lie to me all this time? Just say it. I'm okay with that. I know not everyone's going to like me. It's fine. There's a lot of people on this earth. We're all different. So, we're going to disagree on some things. That's okay. Yeah, and that's the thing, like with what you were saying with that is, the 2 toughest things as far as telling people to me would be if I were going into a relationship concept, or even just dating someone, not even a full relationship, but whatever, and a job. Because, you know, I've got enough days a month that, you know, I can't get out of bed. Well, I kind of feel like they need to know that, you know, because if I don't tell them, I'm going to get fired really fast for missing work, you know, and not that I wouldn't necessarily lose the job anyway, but it's the idea that, you know, if I don't tell them, they're going to be like, dude, you know, you missed 3 days of work this week. You can't do that, you know? And as far as, you know, dating someone, that one, as we talked about on that podcast, that one's a really tough one because I think you got to kind of feel it out a little bit, but don't wait too long because it's not fair to them to not tell them, you know, at some point, you know, if you get in it, like on the first date, maybe you don't divulge that, but again, it's common now. A lot of people have something, you know, so, sometimes you can bond over that kind of thing. You know, my friend that I went out to dinner with a couple weeks ago, you know, when her and I were, first talking, you know, on the way to dinner, you know, she was apologizing for something, you know, and I was like, no, I do the same thing. Like, I totally understand. And it's a depression related thing. It's like, I totally get that, you know, don't apologize for that. I understand, you know, like that kind of a thing. And it's cool because, you know, whenever you have that, you go, oh, that person understands me. You know, that's something you can build on. Don't get me wrong. Two people with depression or whatever in the same relationship can potentially have really bad consequences if both are hitting a downward swing. But like I said, I feel like at some point you do need to tell the other person, especially if it feels like it's getting fairly serious or something, you know, at some point there you gotta let them know that there is this other going on with you, or just tell them up front, like I said, and just, you know, put the cards on the table. And if they go, I can't handle that, you go, hey, cool, I understand, you know, and you're not that invested at that point, you know, so it's whatever.
The other thing
is
how you say it. Because keep that in mind, folks. The other person in the conversation is going to give as much weight to it as you do.
Yeah.
So if you're like, I'm bipolar, you know, then all of a sudden it's going to have a whole other connotation. And you're like, I'm bipolar.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a whole different connotation to it. People are going to react a whole different way to it. And, you know,
I've seen some dating. Yeah, I've seen some dating profiles where the people are like, they straight up front tell you that they are, like, I saw one just a couple nights ago that said, I'm bipolar, but I'm successfully medicated for the last like 10 years. You know, like something like that. It's like, hey, I have this, but it's under control, you know, type of a situation. Like, you know, that's not bad too. Or, you know, ones with alcoholism. Yeah. I've seen some where they put it right up front, like, hey, I'm a recovering alcoholic. If you drink a lot, this isn't going to work. You know, and, you know, that kind of thing. So there is something to be said about, just like I said, I mean, I don't know if I put it in my profile kind of a thing, but, you know, putting it, just putting it out front though, and saying, hey, this is me, you know, I mean, cause it's part of you, you know. And I do recommend, like, say it like you say, you know, hey, I got blue eyes, I got blonde hair, I'm bipolar. Yeah. You know, it's like, don't worry about putting a ton of weight or, you know, a lot behind it, because that's going to also, they're going to respond to that stress. They're going to respond to that. There's probably a lot of people out there too that if you go, hey, I have bipolar, or hey, I'm depressed or whatever, either they'll go, yeah, me too, or, oh, my best friend's has depression. You know, something like that too, because everybody knows somebody that's, you know, has something, you know, and so, you know, that's why I said I just feel like being just flat out honest, I think is just, I mean, really just kind of who I am anyway. I don't really hide stuff and, you know, use pretension or games and just kind of like, yeah, here I am. If you like me, cool. If you don't, I don't care. You know, like I'm just going to keep living and being me because that's what I do. So, you know, all you can do. Yep. Well, with that, I think we're about up on time. Yep. So you good, Brian? I have one thing I want to bring up that, you know, I mentioned at some point that we should do an episode on kind of like approaching therapy or whatever, like what to ask for, what to look for, all this kind of stuff. But I'll also say this, that, you know, there's times where, you know, you listen to another podcast or something and they just nail it and you're like, yes. And, this podcast called The Hilarious World of Depression has a short episode that I think is like 15-ish minutes, 20 minutes maybe. And, oh, that's weird. I don't have the link. I'll have to find the link. Anyway, but the host of the show talks with one of the head guys from NAMI about what to look for, how to approach therapy, blah, blah, all this stuff. It's very short, but there's a ton of information in there. And again, it's from a great source because, you know, I'd refer people to NAMI anyway. So this guy's covering it. So I'll have the link in the show notes, or if not, I can't remember what it's called now. It's something like Getting Started or something like that. I thought I had emailed the link, but I must not have. So I'll have it in the notes though, but it's a fantastic listen. And like I said, it's only like 15 or 20 minutes. It's real short. So if you're someone who doesn't know kind of what the first step is it's a great place to start.
Very cool. Well, with that, we'll do our little wrap up here. If you'd like to continue the conversation with us, folks, you can always reach out to me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. I'm also on Facebook, and you can find us through the Facebook page, which Brian will give you the information on that shortly. And you can also find Henno as Ida Henno on Twitter and Henno Heiter on Facebook. So if you want to reach out to him. So, Brian, how about you?
Actually, really quick before I get into the other stuff, I found the link to it, and it says episode, and then it says #placebo, which means, actually, I'm sorry, I said it was under 20 minutes, it's almost 24 minutes. But the placebo episodes of that show are the shorter ones, but anyway, it's called How to Get Help. So, you know, and that was the episode where they talk about all that stuff.
Awesome.
So yeah, definitely, like I said, give that a listen if you're somebody who needs that kind of thing. I forgot to pull up the email that I usually read from. Did you give Henno? Yeah, did you give Henno stuff? Yes. Okay.
Henno Heiter and Ida Henno.
Okay. Yep. Just checking. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/crazylifepodcast. There's a bunch of great resources in the notes tab on there too, like links to NAMI and different other organizations, as well as some of the suicide prevention hotline numbers and stuff. If you ever need anything, you can also find the show like when we post new episodes on Twitter at the Crazy Life Pod. You can find me at Stunami. My other podcast can be found at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. It's not safe for work. Just giving you warning there. We're part of the Tangent Bound Network, so if you get a chance to swing by there and check out some of the other shows, we would appreciate it. And if you'd like to help the show out, if you're using iTunes, please review, rate, and subscribe. And if you're using Stitcher or another podcast app, please use the like or share buttons. All those things kind of help us get exposure, so we appreciate it. And yeah, I think that's all the links. So then I'll, as I said earlier, we're not therapists, doctors, trained professionals of any kind, but just sharing our experiences. If you think you need help, please get help. Please don't self-diagnose. There's nothing wrong with reading up on stuff and kind of going, you know what, I feel like this is probably what's going on. But if you feel you need some help, go find it. Again, there's all sorts of people out there that's their job. They've chosen that field so that they can help people. So, go check that kind of stuff out. Like I said before, get the estimate. You can choose not to do anything after that, but at least you know. And, if by chance you're feeling as though you may harm yourself or others, please, don't act on that. but please get a hold of a friend, so you're not alone during that time, or call one of the crisis numbers, so that, again, you're not alone essentially, during that kind of time. If you find yourself even thinking about how you would do it, or writing notes, like, suicide notes or whatever, or making plans, that's the time to get help. So reach out to one of these hotlines, or if you have a therapist, reach out to them, or a doctor, or, that kind of thing. But please get help if you need it there. Again, tons of people out there willing to help you. You just got to ask. And, then the last thing is always reach out to somebody this week, tell them you appreciate them, tell them you love them, just see how they're doing, whatever it is, cause it, might, at worst, it'll probably, brighten their day, but you never know. It's, it may just save their life too. So, boom.
Absolutely. You good?
Yeah.
All right. So, folks, with that, keep wiggling your toes, keep smiling when you're happy, and do your best to have a great week.